What's the good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. So we've had an influx of stars wanting to come, Hall of Famers, all pros, guys that we've developed on our roster within a 1 to 2 year period that look like they're at the top five, top 10 spots at their position. And all of that may equate to us ending back up on Hard Knocks for the first time since the 2010 season when we had Rex Ryan at the helm, who was one of the greatest personalities you could have on a TV show. And so not only will we cover some of the requirements real quick and why I think we are the number one option, we'll get into those 7 early juicy storylines for us that I think will probably be focal points, at least until we see who else we add in free agency and what happens via the draft. So in terms of the eligibility requirements, since 2014, teams have been exempt from needing to be on Hard Knocks if they have a first-year head coach. And so, we were exempt when Robert Saleh first joined for that exact reason. The second requirement is they can't have been a playoff team in the last 2 seasons. We know we own the longest drought out there, and so that hasn't been a problem for us. And then the third one is if they've appeared on Hard Knocks in the last decade, and 2010 from my account is over a decade. So it seems like based on that, there were only 4 teams that were even eligible to appear on Hard Knocks. Those 4 teams being the New Orleans Saints, the Washington Commanders, Chicago Bears, and our beloved New York Jets. And out of those 4 teams, I would argue we have the juiciest storylines. The fact that we have a team that is assembling stars from around the NFL universe in and of itself would be worthy of a lot of media attention with how it's being, how it's going about, the air of secrecy that's out there, and, figuring out how all of these little different things came together and things of that nature. And it seems like it's supposed to debut somewhere around August. So I would imagine we'll get some kind of confirmation of who the team being selected is relatively soon so that, they can get there and do all the filming and all of these different things that they're going to want to do and get prepped for to give us that behind the scenes look. So let's dive into these 7 storylines. Number 1, we have the Aaron Rodgers saga. And by virtue of that, the Rodgers and Zach Wilson tandem. You're looking at basically the present and ideally the future of this team all wrapped in one big package, a Hall of Famer. And not only that, there's going to be plenty of, shout outs and love given to the fact that the New York Jets, if this happens, will have pulled off trading for 2 Hall of Famers within, the last 25 years. So it's crazy to think about. We'll have another star finishing his career. Far went on to the Vikings, but either way, we'll have another star that ideally was going to end up finishing his career in green and white. We've seen this with plenty of guys in the past at less luxurious positions. LT, Jason Taylor coming over. So it'll be exciting to see. Plus, I'm sure it'll be interesting from my perspective to see how deep into the mentorship role we get with Aaron Rodgers. I got the feeling he was not in favor of doing any of that with Jordan Love, which maybe was true at the time, and his opinions have changed. He still wants to be a great teammate, but he seems like he's always had a closer connection to Zach Wilson than anybody else expected with some of the things he's put out there and enlightened us on. So the second storyline, the number one, well, at least what could have been the number one running back in the NFL in Breece Hall, and, what the recovery looks like, how things go throughout the course of the offseason. A lot of us are, I think, cautiously optimistic is the best way to put it, that he comes back and, he returns to form right away. But I think a lot of people are taking a look at like James Robinson, who kind of rushed himself back from an ACL injury and didn't look like he could do anything for us. But more specifically, a guy like Saquon Barkley, who was definitely at the top of the running back group when everything was working well for him. And then seeing him come back, he's even mentioned himself, it was a longer road than he expected for him to feel the confidence in his leg, being able to take hits, and really kind of getting back into that same shape that he felt like when he was quote unquote in his prime, the young guy that he is. So that'll be interesting to see as well. The third storyline, this one's particularly interesting to me anytime a cornerback news pops up. But Garrett Wilson versus Sauce Gardner again in round two. Garrett Wilson released a clip towards the end of the year of him, confirming that Sauce Gardner had the better of the matchups over the course of the preseason, OTAs, training camps, and all that stuff. And so it'll be interesting to see if he continues to dominate for what many was calling already the number one cornerback in the league, or if Garrett Wilson does take a pretty sizable step in his development, and different things of that nature to kind of, put Sauce Gardner on his heels. But either way, offensive rookie of the year versus defensive rookie of the year, matching up again over the course of the preseason is going to be very entertaining to watch. As neither one are, I don't know how it would happen, but neither of these guys are going to be displaced. The fourth storyline, Mekhi Becton's recovery. So, there was a lot of mystery, a lot of misinformation, and different things being tossed out there about what's been going on with Mekhi Becton over the last 2 years. This has been the most information over the course of this last offseason that we've received in quite some time, right? Multiple picture updates. Nobody's really talking about the size anymore, but we've heard that he's been in the building practicing immediately since he ended up getting his surgery. And then, of course, he had the new baby that came and all of these different things going on. But, you take a look at Instagram and I guess the transformation picks, I guess you can call it, that are up there. And we've talked about this plenty of times. Mekhi Becton he's looking more like a tight end than a tackle these days. And so it's just amazing to see the commitment and different things going on there. But I would love to get, a peek behind the scenes, a further admission kind of where Mekhi Becton's mind state is, especially considering nobody expects him to get that 5-year option guaranteed from the New York Jets. And basically what changed for him, right? What clicked. Fifth storyline, Quinnen's contract. So Quinnen Williams, we know that he's arguably, not arguably, he's already confirmed that he's willing to sit out and not show up for the voluntary portions of camp. When we get to the mandatory portions, if it takes that long, he may consider sitting out then as well, which I guess technically may be more of a sit-in, as we've seen with a lot more players across the league to avoid getting fined and receiving penalties. But it'll, does the contract get done, right? It's a lot less of a storyline if it does. If it does occur, but then it also does bring up the point of where does he fall at, right? Does he just come in getting a contract under somebody like Aaron Donald? Does he get closer to DeForest Buckner money? Does he take maybe a little bit of a pay cut since we were able to extend his brother? There's a lot to it, right? And then you also get the storyline of the brothers tandem. You don't see brothers in the NFL a whole lot, for one. Two, you generally don't see them on the same team at all whatsoever, and definitely not going on for 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years at one time. So I am going to be interested to see how that plays out. We've heard a lot about how the practice habits are, the competitions they do with each other, different things of that nature. So it'll be cool to kind of see how all of that goes down from like a familial standpoint in that training background. Also, if I remember correctly, I want to say the family atmosphere thing we had on that like NFL survey for the 32 teams, I think we were ranked relatively low. So I don't know if that'll play a factor into it or not, but still interesting nonetheless. Sixth storyline, Carl Lawson, essentially being borderline elite, right? He'll be 2 years removed from his ACL surgery. He was looked at as one of the best available rushers. What it's 2, 3 years ago when we got him. I can't even remember anymore. I want to say 2 off seasons ago though when we picked him up. And he was a guy that was known for being able to get after quarterback, right? Plenty of pressures. He just never quite has been able to convert a fair amount of those into sacks, but he's always been just on the edge of greatness. And so we heard all of the storylines about how he's been dominating people. The matchups with him and Mekhi Becton sounded legendary. I would love to kind of get that same feel for things and see what happens, right? Maybe we get a glimpse over the course of preseason, and again, him being healthy and really go out there and put himself up a double-digit sack season that everybody could be great for. Ideally, 15 would be great. 1 million for each sack that you get. But it is what it is. It'll be more entertaining to see if he can lead the edge rushing unit, where a lot of us feel like a combination of Jermaine Johnson, Michael Clemens, and Bryce Huff could make up for what Carl Lawson's been producing. So final storyline would be just the rookie growth as a whole. We mentioned the Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, battles. We can't forget Jermaine Johnson, as I just mentioned. Can he take a leap and become a force on, the defensive line? Max Mitchell, can he go out there and overcome the, I want to say it was blood clots that he was suffering from? Come back, have a healthy season, prove that he can start on the offensive line. That's going to get an influx of talent in some manner. Michael Clemens, the demon, the beast, the monster of MetLife. I'm sure he'll find a way to continue to go out there and be as menacing as we've seen. So aside from that, you'll also have the incoming rookie draft class. Can we find some instant contributors again with the influx of talent that we've been bringing in? Even today, news dropped that we're a finalist for Ezekiel Elliott. So still seems like we're finding pieces to add to a Super Bowl run for us, and that'll ultimately be the main headline, right? Super Bowl or bust. These are the main contributing factors to that. So let me know if you guys have an interesting storyline that I haven't mentioned that you're considering or would look out for, and how you feel about us being on Hard Knocks. And I'll catch you guys again. Peace.